Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And since today is Mario Day, I'm going to be doing the 1993 film Super Mario Bros. Here is your trivia question for today. What Nintendo product made an appearance in this film? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So our film starts off with us finding out that millions of years ago, when that asteroid hit Earth, it did not kill the dinosaurs, but sent them into another dimension where they evolve just like we do. We then flash forward to what is apparently 20 years ago from the present date in Brooklyn. We watch as a woman drops off a parcel in front of an orphanage. We then soon find out that within it is an egg, and once the egg hatches, a young baby girl is within it. We then move ahead to present time where we meet our main characters, the Mario brothers, Mario and Luigi, and they both happen to be plumbers. One day, Luigi meets a nice girl named Daisy, and the two of them end up going out on a date, which goes very well. Now, unfortunately, there's been a rash of kidnappings in Brooklyn of young women, and they've been kidnapped by these two gentlemen, Spike and Iggy. The worst part is, apparently Daisy is the next girl on their list. Luckily, both Luigi and Mario seem to figure out where Daisy has gone, as they try to follow her through a dimensional rift. The Mario brothers end up in a very odd place, which seems like Manhattan, but different. The citizens all seem to be crazy, the cops are definitely corrupt, and everything seems to be run by a psychopath named King Koopa. So, will the brothers be able to navigate this strange new world and find Daisy, or will Koopa be able to find the plumbers first? This movie was directed by Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton, who at the time were husband and wife. They were chosen because of their work on Max Headroom. Unfortunately, though, almost no one involved with this movie enjoyed working with them, as they were apparently both control freaks and would not talk to one another before making decisions. They also would not allow for any of the actors to do improvisation, but at a whim they would change the script during a scene. Harold Ramis was apparently another potential director for this film. This movie is of course very loosely based off of the video game world of the Super Mario Brothers, but it is actually considered the first Hollywood film directly based on a video game property. The original script had quite a few differences from the final product, including the fact that the main villain was actually Bowser instead of Koopa, and he actually disguised himself as a human for only the first two scenes. The princess in the film was actually named Hildy, and Bowser wanted to marry her in an attempt to obtain the crown of invincibility. There were actually plans of having piranha plants and thwomps in this version. Toad was actually going to partner up with the brothers right away and be the third member of their team throughout the film. There was plans from the beginning of having a baby dinosaur, but it was not going to be Yoshi, it was going to be Junior, and he was going to follow Mario around as if he thought Mario was his mother. Luigi at one point was actually going to get raccoon or tanuki powers. Koopa's original right hand was going to be Kamek, but they switched that over to Lena. However, though, they might have had Lena's hair up in a point like that as a reference towards Kamek's hat. And at the end of that version of the film, Bowser was supposed to fall into lava. There was even one version of a script where there was a scene where inside of Koopa Tower, Bruce Willis was going to cameo and be crawling through the air ducts. The movie did try to put a lot of references towards the video games, but in a really bad way, like as if AI was trying to create the movie. Like, for instance, this is supposed to be Toad. This is supposed to be Yoshi. This horrible abomination is supposed to be a Goomba. Both Iggy and Spike are actually from Super Mario Bros. Continuity, one of them being a Koopa kid and the other one just being an enemy type. This character in the film is named Big Bertha, which is the same name as this really big fish. So I only found out about this recently, but these stupid looking garbage men that are in the movie are supposed to be Shy Guys, and that bothers me because Shy Guys are my favorite villains from Mario. There is technically a Bowser in the movie, as the king is actually named King Bowser. They did in fact have a version of the Bob-omb. The Thwomps themselves did not appear in the movie, but the shoes that make you jump are called Thwomp Stompers. The cartridges for the Thwomp Stompers are definitely supposed to be a bullet bill. The Fireball flower power is supposed to be represented by these flame-throwing guns. The Dino Hatton set was actually an abandoned cement factory that was used in a few other movies, including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and The Crow. So the characters of Mario and Luigi in this film are played by Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. Apparently, the experience was so bad, the two of them would constantly get drunk on set just to get through it. One of the things that really bothers me in this movie is the fact that Luigi is constantly wearing red throughout the film, and Mario is just wearing whatever color, when they're supposed to look like this, but they don't actually get the correct outfits until about 66 minutes into the film. Honestly, with how ridiculously bad this movie was, they really should have just kept Lou Albano and Danny Wells from the television series. Hoskins also had a really bad time throughout this movie, as he actually got a broken finger, was stabbed 4 times, electrocuted, and nearly drowned. I bet he wishes one of these other actors that was up for the role would have taken it. Those actors were Danny DeVito, Bruno Kirby, Cheech Marin, and Dustin Hoffman. Also, John Leguizamo was so drunk on set one day that he got hit by a car and broke his leg. During some scenes, you can still see the cast. Now, the only other actor that was up for the role of Luigi was Tom Hanks. The role of Daisy is played by Samantha Mathis, but that role almost went to Jennifer Jason Leigh. By the way, if you didn't know, Samantha Mathis also plays her mother, the Queen, in the opening sequence. The role of King Koopa is played by Dennis Hopper, and Hopper's version of Koopa was inspired by Donald Trump. It was also Hopper's decision to have Koopa's arms like this, since Koopa descended from the T Rex. The other actors that were up for the role of King Koopa were Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Keaton, Kevin Costner, Armand Asante, Klaus Maria Brandauer, Willem Dafoe, Michael Douglas, Michael Gambon, Jeremy Irons, Tommy Lee Jones, Al Pacino, and Christopher Walken. In some of the previous Mario games, there has actually been a king, and he was transformed into things. The king in this one was played by Lance Henriksen in a brief cameo. Henriksen's character, by the way, is actually called King Bowser. It was actually Henriksen's idea to have the king cough out fungus when he changed back. What he coughed out was actually just Rice Krispies cereal. The character of Toad was apparently always supposed to be played by a musician. He gets played by Mojo Nixon in the film, but Tom Waits was also a possibility. Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, was actually the narrator for the film. Since this movie absolutely bombed, Nintendo decided to stop any possible adaptations of their other games, including one that was supposed to come out for Metroid. It wasn't until 2019 that Nintendo allowed another adaptation, which was Detective Pikachu. Apparently, the only good thing that came from this movie is it gave Nintendo the idea of a possible relationship between Luigi and Daisy. There was never talks of doing a sequel to the film, but there was talks of a potential webcomic sequel that never actually came to fruition. So when it comes to the film Super Mario Bros., the tagline "This ain't no game" is correct because it has nothing to do with the game series and it is a horrible adaptation. I will say though, if you take away the whole aspect of it being connected to Mario, it's a slightly okay sci-fi film. So I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 5. Now, if you'd like a better adaptation, in 2023 there was the animated film, and of course there's hundreds of video games involving the Mario Brothers that you can play. Now, if you did like this movie, other movies I recommend checking out are Mom and Dad Save the World, Tank Girl, Judge Dredd, and Demolition Man. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, what Nintendo product made an appearance in this film? So if you owned a Super Nintendo system, you might recognize the de-evolution gun that King Koopa is using, as it's just a gray spray-painted version of the Super Scope 6. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.